Hello again, folks. It's old Diego again. And speaking of surviving, did I ever tell you of the time that me and my old buddy, so-called old buddy in Ensenada, decided to take his rebuilt sailboat, 38-foot catch, one of those down under catches, two-masted, from Ensenada, where he rebuilt the motor and made sure it was seaworthy anyway. He needed a crew member to help him sail it to Mazatlan. Okay, that's 1,000 miles away around the tip of Baja, Cabo San Lucas, and then across the Sea of Cortez to Mazatlan. Well, here I was, his innocent neighbor, working on my little 34-foot sailboat. And I'd never really been out in blue water sailing before. I'd done a lot of bay sailing in San Diego Bay, Mission Bay of San Diego. I was what they call a fair weather sailor, day sailor. But I knew how to sail, the basics anyway. So I told the little woman, I'm going to do it. Take 2 weeks off and help this old bugger sail his boat down to Mazatlan. When I say old bugger, I mean old booger. He was 84 years old, tough as nails, an old rooster. And looked like he'd been through a war or two. And tell you more about that later. But anyway, I volunteered to crew his boat, and off we went one day, sailing out of Ensenada out into the blue Pacific yonder. And we rounded the dangerous rocks headed out of Ensenada and Via de Todos Santos, All Saints Bay. Santo Tomas Island sits at the mouth. Good fishing out there, by the way. So we were motor sailing south out of Ensenada Bay. Not too long, a couple hours or so, as I recall. And all of a sudden the diesel motor stopped working. And I went below to check it out. And what had happened was the diesel fuel filters, which had been mounted on the bulkhead, had already vibrated loose, broke their mounting plate, fell down, broke. Diesel had come out of the filters, and in essence what happened was we lost our prime. And a good mechanic could have fixed it, but the old bird, he was a stubborn old cuss at 84 years old, tough as nails, but maybe a few French fries short of a Happy Meal up top. He said, "Oh, I know how to fix it, just like we fixed the tractors back on the farm in Montana. We'll just squirt a little starter fluid in the cylinders and get this baby started again." Wrong. I knew about gas motors, but I didn't know about diesel motors. No. Starter fluid is the wrong, absolutely worst thing you could have possibly done. We turned over that baby and boom, we blew those heads out. Yeah, with a lot of explosion and pistons clanking and all kinds of noise. I believe it was a 3-cylinder Westerbeek diesel. It was done for. And we'd already rounded the corner south on our 1,000-mile trip. And the old bird said, okay, men have sailed around the world for thousands of years without motors. We're going to go for it. Just catch that prevailing wind south and keep on going. So that's what we did. We were sailing with the main and the jib. You know, pretty good sailing for a night or two. But that third night out, oh my God. We were in a storm. It wasn't the worst storm, but those big rolling seas down there by Guadalupe Island, off the Baja, getting close to the Baja South line between Baja and Baja Sur. Guadalupe Island, famous for great white shark watching. They got dive expeditions that go out there and take tours out in shark cages, and you can watch great whites. It's a huge, huge population out there because of all the sea lions too. And that third night out, during those big huge rollers with no motor, at the mercy of the wind and the waves and the current, I thought we were goners, really. I did. I had said my prayers and made my peace with God, and whatever happened was going to happen. But the old bird, he knew a thing or two about sailing. He, I had to do the sailing. Well, he told me what to do, but I think we were on a broad reach, tacking back and forth throughout the night, just getting over those huge rollers. And when the day come, the sea had calmed down back to pretty much normal, so we could see where we were at. The old bird was a good navigator too, by the way. He had navigated for the merchant marines back in the day. I don't know if he saw any action during the wars or not, but he was sailing cargo and helping navigate. But of course, you have all the modern navigation tools and electronics on the big ships. But we had our, GPS, and he had all the charts, and we had our cell phones to help us, our smartphones. So he pinpointed our location, and we sailed around Guadalupe Island. As long as you stay away from that lee shore, downwind shore, that's what'll kill you. It's not the waves, it's the rocks that'll kill you. So we stayed about 60 miles out, and continued sailing south. And geez, if we had 100-mile day, that's a good day in sailing terms. It's a long day's bike ride, but consider a sailboat is a floating home. It's got everything you need, your food, your water, your clothes, your everything. It's self-contained. So we weren't doing too bad, but the old bird had to have his naps and sleep all the time too. So I had to man the helm, but we did have an autopilot back, it'd keep you on course. You'd set your course, and you could kind of take a nap up on the top on the cockpit and be zzz, 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 zzz. The autopilot electronic would, going in and out, correcting itself. And I would kind of keep one eye open and maintain course. And every once in a while, the old bird would yell up out of his bunk down below, "Oh, Richard, we're doing good. I think we made 16 miles last night." So if you could make any ground on the night shift, that would help too. So it's my first time out at sea, blue water. Wow. I had my deep sea fishing pole ready to go. We were just sailing along at 5 to 7 knots. I don't think we ever got much over 10 knots. And I'd troll a lure once in a while and watch the beauty of the ocean. That's what's amazing. I've seen sharks jump completely out of the water chasing their prey. Birds, flying fish are neat when they fly onto your deck. Very cool. But the coolest thing I think I saw in nature-wise the whole trip was a river of dolphins. I mean, literally a river of dolphins came down, splitting on each side of the boat, and it went on for a couple of hours, non-stop. It was the most amazing sight I ever saw. So the wind was pretty good. It actually only took us like 7 days total to sail down to Cabo San Lucas, the southern tip of Baja. And we were 20 miles out south of Cabo. And I'd had it, 7 days of me sailing mostly and the old bird navigating. I got on the radio out of Cabo and I started calling for help, for a tow. And the old bird really didn't want to go into Cabo because he was kind of a loner. But boy, did I want to see Cabo. I was hankering for a beer, something terrible, I had even found old rusted beer underneath the refrigerator, and I drank that even. It was so good. But I didn't care if I had to spend my own money to get into Cabo. I was bound and determined to do it. And speaking of money, by the way, I was the one that bought all the food and provisions for this trip, a few $100s for that for the first 7 days already. And now they wanted $200 just to tow us 20 miles into Cabo. But I was desperate. I went for it. I'm the one that ordered that, not the captain. So we got towed into Cabo. I call it Cabo San Ripoff. Cabo San Lucas, but I call it Cabo San Ripoff because it's a big ripoff tourist trap. Oh, it's beautiful, for sure. Movie stars and world leaders go there on vacation. It's very beautiful, but it's all set up for tourism. And we got towed into the port there, and there was an American running the boatyard. And I went in and talked to him, and he was very, very busy, very, very expensive. And he sent a man down to look at our boat in 5 minutes. He said, "Nah, that thing needs a complete overhaul, a complete rebuild, and it's going to cost you thousands of dollars to stay here in Cabo and have that done." But at least we found out. And the old bird made the decision, no, we're not staying here. We're not spending no money here. He was a tightwad anyway. Old school, grizzled old bird. He didn't even come ashore in Cabo. Like, once we got off the dock, we had to move, get out there in the free anchorage and anchor out. But I got my scuba gear on. Not my scuba, but my wetsuit, mask, snorkel fins, and a backpack with my dry clothes. And I swam to shore, changed clothes, and went out partying. And I had a good old time there on Squid Row. Squid Row is like a couple blocks of square party places. Very nice. Very good place to party for sure. I had my good time, slept it off on the beach, and in the morning I swam back out to the boat. The old bird was up, but he wasn't about to go into party town. He said, "All right, Richard, we're headed to Mazatlan. We're not stopping. Let's go." So we pulled up anchor, and now it was just a straight shot west across the Sea of Cortez to Mazatlan, another 200 miles away. And the island effect, or the peninsula effect, causes the wind to die right there. From Cabo, about 20 miles out, no wind. We were just drifting around in circles. No motor, at the mercy again, but at least we had room to breathe on the westerly trip, because there was no lee islands and lee rocks to crush us up. And once we caught that northeastern wind coming out of the Baja across the peninsula, man, we shot across that peninsula like in 2 days, the 200 miles in 2 days. Great. That was the best wind we'd had coming over that starboard reach, the starboard side, and we just shot across the peninsula to Mazatlan. The only problem was we got there in the middle of the night, and with no motor. You can't go sailing into a bay in the middle of the night that you don't even know where it's at. So that was the hardest part. And another breeze had kicked up, pretty good breeze. I don't know how many knots, but it was blowing pretty darn good over there at the mouth of Mazatlan. And all I could do was tack back and forth all night long, staying out in open water. You know, I could see the lights on shore, the town, but nobody would answer their radio. Nobody was going to come get us in the middle of the night. So that was very hard. And the jib was taking a beating. And the old man was sleeping, and he's like, "We got to get that jib down, Richard." And I said, "Heck no, I'm not going up on a bucking deck to take your jib down." I said, "I don't give a damn if it rips out or not. You know, I'm tired, and it's dangerous here. I'm just going to ride it out. You know, you bought an old boat with old sails and you're too cheap to fix everything up, right?" And over here, I didn't even care if we ended up on the rocks in Mazatlan, because it's mostly sandy beaches. And if we hit a beach, I'd be gone. I didn't care about his old boat. Anyway, we lasted until morning. We called for a tow again, and I had to pay again, you know. And we got towed into beautiful Mazatlan Marina. It's great once you get in there. There's a lot of nice boats from all over the world. Beautiful facilities, a great tourist city. So that part was the best part, was getting to Mazatlan, getting to clean clothes, a clean shower, and hitting the town. For a couple of days anyway. I saw it all. taking those little, they call them palomas, the little open cars, tour cars that take you all over the town and the views and everything. But the old bird, he didn't reimburse me a penny. The whole trip cost me like $1,000, and I had to find my own way back to Tijuana by bus, of course, and that's cheap and easy. No problem there. But I did respect the old bird for his navigation abilities, because I wouldn't have known where we were. That's the thing. If you don't know where you are in the ocean, you don't know nothing. And then he was a tough old bird too. He made the tough decisions just to continue. He knew we could do it. I don't think I would have had that kind of guts. So in that respect, I respect him. I'm not going to say his real name here because it's the sailing community is pretty tight. We look after each other. But you know, he was cheap. I had to pay my own way, all the expenses, everything, and do most of the work. So I guess that's why they call him the captain, and I was the first mate. But I got an experience of a lifetime for $1,000. So thank you for that. And I've already talked too much. At least when I got back to Tijuana, the little lady was forgiving, and we got back together again and continued on with many more memories. This is Will Diego, over and out, wishing you a good day, a good life, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care. God bless.